Hello, and thank you for joining me for Newgen's webinar. Today, we're going to be going over how managing multiple relationships in commercial lending landscape to mitigate credit risk. My name is Nicholas Buddymeyer. I work in Newgen's product and solutions team. I have a main focus in the banking and credit union financial industry. I work with various different banks and credit unions in creating efficiencies in their current processes, helping them automate their processes with Newgen's products. Today, we're going to be looking at more specifically into a relationship manager role and how they can manage multiple relationships in the commercial lending landscape to help mitigate risk. Now, when it comes to managing those various different relationships, there's a single customer view, which is the point that we want to go towards here. Now, what a single customer view is it's an aggregated and consistent, holistic representation of all the data that you know by an organization, with an organization or its customers here. So this isn't going to just be necessarily listed to a specific borrower when it comes to loans, which we're going to be looking at, but it's going to be with all the different entities that are going to be related to that borrower as well. Now, one of the main challenges here when it comes to getting that single customer view here, so what we want to reach, is that generally a lot of these institutions have very poor data quality, and that data that they do have is normally siloed in various different departments. So you have few pieces of information about your various different customers residing in various different departments that don't talk to each other. Now, having part of that is the inability to link these different departments with the technologies that you're using. So sometimes they're using different systems where they're housing various different data about the customers. And what that results is in a relationship manager taking extra time to go find this information that you may already have and try to piece together this information to make that holistic view to be able to mitigate that risk and then ultimately lend more money to the various different borrowers. Now, there was a poll done that said 80% of institutions have challenges creating a single customer view. So we're going to be taking a little bit more in-depth look at that using the Newgen system. So with Newgen's relationship management tool, so this is a piece that's a part of Newgen's system. We're going to be looking at how this can help with managing that credit risk, looking at that customer, having that single customer view, as well as all the related parties to that customer. Now, in 2018, a study found that 63% of the banking sales leaders said that their tools failed them to understand their customers. So not only are they 89% of institutions struggling to create a single management or a single customer view, 63% of them are saying it's their tools that are letting them down here. So that's where Newgen's relationship management tool is here to come in. So the advantages of this solution is that it organizes all of the data that you may have in your various different technologies that your various different departments have. It'll be able to connect those systems to organize the data in a very easy to understand manner. So you'll have all that different customer data that's going to be logically organized, and you're going to be able to make sense of that information very easily. So this data is going to be synced automatically between these different endpoints that you may have. So these different departments, as they're updating their data, the Newgen solutions will be able to grab that information and sync it and organize it for you. Now, not only are you just going to be able to have this information to be able to view, so just having the basic information to view, you also have the ability to drill down into this. So not only are we going to have the primary borrower's information, but all the related and interconnecting and weaving parties that are going to be involved with this loan process, that information is going to be available to us as well. And this tool is going to allow you as an institution to be able to drill down into those parties to be able to see, again, exactly what's going on to mitigate that credit risk and then ultimately lend more money to the institutions. Now, the solution is going to give you a complete view of the relationship and any of the exposure of the relationship when it comes to loans specifically, which is what we're going to be looking at. So as you can see in this little graph that we showed you, you're going to be able to see all the different information that you want to see. Now, keep in mind the solution is configurable here as well. So I'll be showing off the solution and how it can work and showcase some of this information. Any information that you may have that we may not be showing today, that can also be brought into this tool to be able to, again, showcase that in an easy to read and understand format. So this can be any kind of information. It's not necessarily limited to what we're showcasing here. So be able to see any kind of recent transactions within the solution for not only the borrower that we're looking at, but also all of the related parties, the complete exposure of the borrower and related parties here, the actual organizational structure. So we'll be able to see this also in a tabular and graphical format to make it, again, as easy as possible to understand. We'll have all the information on the different related parties here, even looking at various different recent transactions that the related parties are doing, in process transactions, and actually be able to go into those transactions that are currently being done with those related parties. And this is all in the ability to mitigate that risk. So you get that holistic view to hopefully mitigate that risk and then borrow more money to the institutions there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip over into the solution itself here, so we can go to see exactly how this system helps the various different relationship managers work within the system to be able to, again, mitigate that risk, get that entire holistic view of the solution. Now, while Newgen does offer a complete commercial loan origination solution, we're going to be specifically looking at this tool to be able to view those various different parties versus taking a look at the entire commercial loan system. So what I did here is I just opened up a loan that has been started on the by the relationship manager. Now the system easily allows us to, add various different facilities, so additional products of the application. You can see it's a very easy process for the relationship manager to be able to add additional products to an application. So C&I, CRE loans, any kind of loans that they may want to be applying for, and select the different requests that we might have for this application. We'll go ahead and just add a quick loan here. So you can see it's a very easy, simple process to add a loan to the application. But what we're going to be interested in here is looking at what we call the relationship tool. So I can go ahead and select this relationship tool here, and it's going to open me the relationship tool manager here. This is what's going to allow me to view all that information that we have in those various different systems into a single place. So what I can do here is I can go search various different data sources that we may have. So we're going to be searching the core system here, as well as any data that might be residing in the Newgen system. So any in-process transactions that might be going on with the borrower or the related parties. Those will also be pulled in here, so they haven't quite been completed yet, so they're not necessarily in the core system yet. So we do have the ability to both pull in the information from Newgen system, from the core system, or any other ancillary systems that we may be using. So I'm going to go ahead and just search based off of any information that I'd like. So I'm going to be searching for an entity, but I can use first name, last name, TIN, SSN, account numbers, really any information that I may have to be able to search the core system or those various different systems. And then we'll be able to populate any data that's going to be related to that search that we just did there. So you'll see the search results populated here for us. We get some basic details here to see if this is the party that we were looking for. If it is, we can go ahead and select the party and hit retrieve. And then this is, again, going to pull that various different data that we have residing in those various different systems that may have been disconnected before, but then now are grouped into this single Newgen solution, this tool that we're looking at. So we're pulling in all the data, it's structuring the data in an organized manner here for us, and laying out all the information for us to view. So for the very first things, we can actually see the relationship info itself. So we can see who are all the related entities or individuals that are associated with the borrower that we just retrieved there. Now we can even go further into this. So we can take a look at the various different entities here that we have pulled in that are related. And we can actually take a look at the organizational structure of those entities that are related to the borrower. So we can see that who the two owners are, the percentage of ownership, if they're a primary contact, controlling authority, or any other information that may be related to the individuals of that entity that we just took a look at. Now this is going to be all the information that's going to be available to us for that organizational structure here specifically. We also have multiple pages here, so again, it's pulling in all that information that is going to be related to this borrower that we pulled in. Now this is going to be more of a tabular format here for us, so it can lay out all that information. We also have the ability to look at this in a graphical format as well. So if I go down here and select this organizational chart button, what it's going to do is it's going to open up a graphical format for me, so I can visualize all this data and visualize how these different entities and individuals are connected within the system. You're even going to see here the ownership percentages, as well as where the ownerships are coming from. So, who's owning what part of what entity, what their percentages are, as well as who's a controlling authority and who's an ultimate beneficial owner will also be listed here. If there's any additional information that you want to know, their primary contact, that can also be showcased here in this graphical format. Now this is interactable as well. So I can scroll back here to get a more holistic view, as well as I can drag these around and drop them. So if I want to organize them in a different manner here, I can absolutely do that and adjust the orientation of these graphical components. So I can play around with this and make it as visually appealing as I would like to. Now I also have the ability to export this. So I can export this into a PDF if I would like. So I have the ability to export this into a PDF, so I can include it any kind of and anything that I want here, as well as this data is available to be exported into a CAM report as well. So I can have this graph exported as well as the tabular format as well, to be able to showcase the ownership percentages, the different entities, and the individuals that are included in this transaction that we're doing. So this can be exported to the CAM, as well as any of the data that we're going to be looking at are all going to be available for export to be generated in that CAM, or just export for us to view or send out to any other related parties that we would like. So going back to the tool itself, if we scroll down here, we can see any of the in-process transactions. So these are going to be the in-process transactions of the different individuals and entities that are related to the borrower that we pulled in. So this primary transaction and all the associated work items. So what we can actually do in this tool here is open up the specific work items. So say we want to take a look at one of the entities that is related here. They have a in-process transaction, so they're currently applying for a loan. If we want to take a look at that loan specifically, we can absolutely do that. If we, depending on the rights that we have in the system, we can go ahead and go directly in that transaction and look at any of the information within that transaction. So again, this can be depending on the rights of what information that we can see, what's going to be masked, as well as we won't be able to adjust any of this information, but we can have it in a read format to be able to view the entire in-process transaction, see where it is within the process, who's working on it, and what information has already been provided. Now, if we go a little bit further down, we're going to be able to pull in the different related party details and the existing facilities that they already have. So the existing loans that the related parties already have within the system here. And we can look at this in two different ways. We can look at the specific loan if we want to open up the loan itself, or we can take a look at the borrowers themselves and get a holistic view of the borrower specifically. So we're going to take a look at both of these here. So you can see that the loan number is going to be listed here for us. If I go ahead and select the loan number, it's going to take me into the separate tab here at the top, where I can see all the information about this loan for that borrower that we just selected there. So what the product type is, the original balance, what the current balance is, the loan type, the loan to value ratios, the risk ratings, interest rate, really any information that I might want to know about this loan is going to be listed here. Now keep in mind, like I said, this is a configurable system, so any information that you want additional to be shown with the loans can absolutely be shown here as well. We can also see any collateral information here. So any collaterals that were a part of this loan will be showcased here as well. And we can even go down further into actually viewing the different collaterals. So we can see that there's a real estate collateral here, and we can get information about that real estate that was the collateral for this loan as a related party. And then going further down, we can see the guarantors, so personal or any entity guarantors that were here, any participation that may have happened, payment history, financial covenants, risk rating, non-financial covenants. All this information is going to be provided here for us about this loan that we're taking a look at. And you can see it's in a very organized structure. All the information is laid out here for us. We don't have to go and jump through to various different systems to find this information. It's all pulled in by the Newgen system automatically and laid out here for us. You see non-financial covenants, closing condition, any reporting requirements, all the information that we could possibly want to view about this loan is going to be listed here. Now, I did say we did have another view that we could take a look at here. So we can actually look, instead of at the loan itself, we can take a look at the actual party in question here. So we can take a look at the individual itself to get a whole holistic view of that specific individual. So if I go ahead and select the primary borrower here, I can see now I'm taking a look at the primary borrower itself. That loan is still here that we've previously selected, so I can take a look at that as well. But I can look at also any other information that I would like. So any in-process transaction that this specific entity has or individual, any previous transactions they might have. Now, if I go ahead and select one of these in-process transactions, I can get a quick snapshot of what's going on with this in-process transaction as well. So I can see contact information, who's assigned to this specific request here. So if I do need some information, I know exactly who to contact within the institution. And this goes for any of the in-process transactions here. So I don't have to necessarily go into the transaction itself. I can select it and get any relative information that I need directly on this page. As well as I can see any documents that are going to be associated with this. So I can see documents for the borrower here. So any documents that have been uploaded, submitted, that are in process here, the loan documents. So any documents associated with this loan request is going to be available for me as well. I can see any previous transactions within the system. The loans as well, so the loans that they already have, which we took a look at previously, so we can look at the specific loan that this entity already has here. Any guarantors, as well as any notes that have been provided by various different users within the system. So I go take a look at the notes, see who made the notes here, when they were made, and exactly what transaction they were made on. So this is more of an overview of the specific individuals or entities versus the transactions that they may have. Now going back into the relationship tool, if we go a little bit further down here, we can see all the related guarantors already pulled out and listed here for us. We can see exactly what their guarantor type is, what loan that they were a part of, or what relationship number that they are associated with. But these are all the different entities and individuals that we pulled in that are going to be related to this specific borrower that we retrieved from our various different data sources. Now, if I go a little bit further down, we can see any of our, if we had any other related parties or any other related parties that were pulled in, we'd be able to see that as well. And then we can also look at the full relationship exposure. So once I hit view exposure, and I scroll down here, I'll be able to get an entire holistic view of the exposure that's going to be associated with this request here. So we can see all the different borrowers that we had previously. And we can go scroll over within this as well. So we have right now it's just limited to having 10 on a single page here. But this can be, again, configured to however many that you would like to have on a page. We can see how these borrowers are related. So who are they related to? It's an individual or an entity. Any loan numbers they may have, as well as the loan status here. So if the loan is active or not, or if it's in process. What the actual loan type itself is. So if it's a commercial mortgage, a line of credit, term loan, will be listed here as well. The origination date, the actual loan balance itself, and then the current balance as well. So it's going to be more for the active loans here. What the interest was, the maturity date, margin, index type, and we can even scroll over here to see more information. Now keep in mind the solution is configurable here. So what information you want to show, how you want to show this information is all going to be configurable. So if you want to have certain information up front, but you don't have to scroll over to necessarily see it, that can absolutely be done here, as well as if you want to bring in additional data, you can absolutely do that. But what we have here is we can see the debt service coverage ratio, the loan to value, the risk rating, when was the last annual review, amortization period, as well as what data source this is coming from. So if you do have various data coming in from different sources, you can see exactly where that is coming from. For this specific presentation, we have it coming in from a core system as well as Newgen's system. But this can be any other systems that you may have from any other departments that you may have within the institution. So wherever your data is residing, that can be pulled into the system, as well as you'll see the specific data source that that information is coming from. Okay. And then going a little bit further down, we can see the more of the aggregate information here. So the overall total exposure here is going to be listed, as well as any relationship deposit details will be listed here as well within this tool. Now, all this information that we took a look at, this is residing in this tool where all this information is being pulled into, and this allows us to view this information, add information to the system itself. So if you've seen, if we scroll back up here, if you've seen, we do have these plus signs where we can add entities, add individuals, make adjustments to this information if we want to make adjustments to it. So if I go ahead and select this different party, and maybe something has changed here, I can go ahead and make some adjustments, add a new address or change any of the information that might be required, add different entities if the ownership structures have changed. I can make the changes directly in this tool. I don't need to go into, say, the core system and make these changes, or into any of those other data sources that we're pulling that information from. I don't have to go into those systems to make any changes or updates to the relationships. I can do it directly in this tool, and the system will have a bi-directional integration with those different data sources to be able to update those systems with the most recent information. Now, all of this information that we have taken a look at today, this is all going to be available within the loan request itself. So all the data that we've looked at, all the different data sources, all the different transactions, relationship exposure, all that information is going to be available to be brought into the Newgen's commercial loan origination system to help us pre-populate and make that commercial loan process more efficient here. And again, any of this data can be brought into, say, a CAM report or a term sheet and be generated and added into those different documents that we are going to be generating. And even the graphical charts that we take a look at can also be generated and added into those various different documents that we have been generating. So that takes a look at the relationship tool and how we can get that single customer view within the system. And that's all I had to showcase here for us today. So I want to thank you for joining me for this webinar here, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you.